Hey guys, and welcome back to Digital Artcast. Another episode coming back at you in these troubling times. But of course, I'm here to ease your pain and give you something to listen to while you're doodling, drawing, making 3D art, whatever you're doing. Shout out to all the guys that we recently found out are listening from all over the States. I hope you guys are doing well across there as well. It's a troubling time, but of course, we will persevere. We've been through worse, and we will definitely get through this now. Today, I've managed to haul in an artist that I have been trying to talk for a while, as most amazing artists are trying to get this podcast are always so busy. But this particular artist just took some time out of his weekend schedule to come and chat to us about his career, his findings about his life as a studio artist, and of course freelance now. Today we are talking to Mr. Henry Wong. Hello, Henry.
Hey, how's it going, Gordon?
Yeah, good man, good. Yeah, we were kind of talking a little bit earlier just before we started recording about the whole situation in London and stuff, but an interesting time for you also because how long ago did you go freelance now?
I've been freelance for about maybe 5 to 4 months now,
Oh,
maybe a
okay,
little
yeah,
longer. Yeah,
pretty recent then.
yeah,
So
pretty
yeah,
recent.
you kind of picked a good time to go freelance.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know yet.
yeah, I've got. Well, I mean, in the general sense of the way the world is at the moment, where
Oh
people are
yeah,
having to
yeah,
work from home.
yeah. I'm
So
I'm super prepared.
yeah, you're already kind of already in that mindset. So we've known each other a couple of years now.
Hmm.
I think their first introduction to each other was, I mean, I think I actually met you at Industry Workshops 2016, but it was a more just
Yeah,
passing, hey,
yeah,
how's it going, and nothing. But then the first time I think we actually sat and talked for more than like 5 minutes was when we played Magic the Gathering at 2018 Industry Workshops. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that
That
was.
definitely was. Yeah, we played Magic.
Yeah, I had a couple of decks with me, and people were kind of laughing, saying, like, "Oh, I bet you didn't bring any." And I just like whipped out all these magic decks, and they're like, "Oh shit, we can play!" So
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it was me, you, Yort, and a couple other guys, my
yeah.
friend Adam. So it was quite fun.
Great time.
But then of course I've kept on top of your career, which has just been going in strides, and of course we all know how amazing you were. And then of course you've took the leap now.
Oh,
You're
thank you.
freelance. You're doing your own thing. So yeah, you're doing well, man. Definitely awesome to see you flourishing in the industry. Of course, even back at Opus, you were working on some amazing projects as well, and even before that as well. So you've definitely had a full career up to this point.
I'm trying my best.
Yeah, yeah,
I
you're
think
doing
I'm
well, man.
just just
Yeah.
guessing my way through.
No, no, no. But then, of course, you've also like a lot of people have taken interest in your Mornups. So your warm ups that you do like
Mhm.
every morning, you paint do a study from. I think these are just from still images that you find online or images you've taken yourself.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, a bit of everything. Yeah.
right, okay, yeah. So I mean, like it's like almost like an online plein air, but yeah, you've done them consistently now for like since you went freelance or even before that.
Oh, before that, I think
Right.
maybe fully consistently about 3 years now, perhaps.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You're kind of getting like as a Beeple. He's kind of got
Oh yeah,
those
yeah, people. Yep.
yeah, he
Yeah.
gets like those dailies every single day, and I think he's not missed one in like something crazy like nearly 10 years or something. He's been doing like dailies, and he's never ever not posted something at
Hmm.
least once a day. So, but yeah, again, I think that these consistencies or these things you're doing every day are things that also train you just to be more disciplined by just making sure you're working every day or doing one task and posting it and keep it in the loop. And so is that something that you were doing like way back before you were even posting them online? Were you still doing warm ups every morning or?
Yeah, I was trying to just because when I first started as a an intern at Opus Artz, and even at when I was doing my masters in character animation, I kind of sucked as an artist. I didn't know anything because I started off with a traditional art background, but mostly because I was doing life drawing. Um, because I was studying a fine art course and they weren't really teaching us like how to draw or anything. They were like it was more like conceptual, contemporary art. It was more about theory than actual practice of art. So the only person who taught me how to draw was a guy called Martin Brooks, who actually displays his paintings at the National Portrait Gallery every year. He's really, really good. But he taught me how to do some life drawings and stuff, and that's pretty much all I knew. I didn't even know how to use like Photoshop when I first started, and so I had to like get better for the school and for the studio. So I had to try to cram as much stuff as I could every day. But I know that I was so time restricted, so I gave myself 30 minutes to an hour every day just to learn something new. Just
Cool.
trying my best. Yeah.
Nice, man. Yeah, but then of course, kind of going back to the origins, because when you're talking about your masters, I
Yeah.
mean, I even had the same opportunity. I had a Once I finished my degree, my honours degree in 3D animation, I had the opportunity to maybe go and do a master's at Glasgow School of Art.
Hmm.
But then I felt like that was just taking a step more towards academia than
Hmm.
just practical learning. So how did you get into art originally? I mean, I'm assuming you kind of painted and drew as a kid, but then was that something you followed into college, university? Were those steps like consciously taken from high school all the way, like you wanted to be an artist?
Yeah, I think I always wanted to sort of be like a comic book or a manga artist, but I just really
Oh,
didn't
nice.
know how to get
To
into
get
it.
there.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm from like a kind of like a smaller city in England called Plymouth. It's in
Okay.
the southwest in Devon, and
Nice.
I didn't really have any connections. A lot of the courses weren't really offering me a route into it, but I just sort of took a blind guess and
Yeah.
just try to get into it. But
Mm.
when I first tried it, it was just more academic based art,
Right. Yeah.
and yeah, it just really wasn't my thing. It wasn't until I got into my master's course at what's it called, Central St. Martin's, that I
Mm.
kind of had a better idea. But quite literally, if I didn't get into Central St. Martin's, I was thinking about going to like Thailand to become a
Mm.
Muay Thai fighter or something
Oh, nice.
crazy like that, because I was in my early 20s and
Right.
I didn't have any clue what I was doing.
Yeah, I think the fighting aspect would have been cool as well, because even back then that would have been almost like on the cusp of MMA, and UFC kind of just building out and being a thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, that could have also been a career. But then I think it's interesting where the more people I've listened to who have had fighting careers have all said, they've had to get out at one point because
Mhm.
you can only get kicked in the head so many times,
Yeah,
and then
I gotta
you
keep my
just
brain cells right now.
well, yeah. I mean, like Joe Rogan was talking to Kevin Smith because he was on at one point, and he was always like,
Right.
"Oh yeah, would you have known what to get in the UFC?" And he was like, "If it was like 10 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago, yeah, sure." But then
Mhm.
he was talking about when he was training, he was doing like some local fights because Joe Rogan's been fighting since he was like 10 or something. Like
Yeah.
he done like judo, jiu-jitsu, all that kind of stuff. But then he was saying like he was getting to points where he was starting to get a bit hazy, and then he
Mhm.
was talking to people who were older than him that had been fighting for longer, and like a lot of the guys couldn't like tie their shoelaces, so he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit, like I need to think about doing something else because this isn't going to be lasting very long anyway." So and I'm sure your family were also giving you props not to
Yeah,
pursue that
probably.
also.
I would have been a ultimate stereotype because my parents own like a Chinese takeaway or takeout, and
Okay.
they would have made me work there, and then I would have been like doing martial arts and teaching martial arts on the side. I would just be
Okay.
like, oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
goodness.
Cool. Are they originally from mainland China?
Yeah, they're from the south, from
Okay.
Guangzhou and stuff. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Nice. Cool. So yeah, I mean, that would have been great doing your masters, and then did you almost have the ability to do a PhD then as well? Was that something you were considering, or?
At a certain point, I was thinking about doing a PhD, but I just really I thought it was a good idea just because I think my parents have always told me to get like the highest degree you can. But in my heart, I was just like, I knew.
Yeah, you wanted to do more
I mean,
practical stuff.
academic arts isn't bullshit. Wait, can I swear in this podcast?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Fucking go for it, man.
Oh
Fucking
yeah,
swear all you want.
oh yeah. I don't know. I was like,
No,
is
it's
this
all good. It's all good.
PG? So
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was a bit bullshit to be honest, and
Yeah.
so and I was more interested in the practical side, so I just was totally
Yeah.
against it. And at the
Mm.
time, I think I was interning at Opus, and the more I was
Right.
learning about concept art, and the more I was doing animation, I was realizing that there's just so much more to learn in
Right.
practical art, and was much more interesting and fulfilling
Interesting
than I
for you.
felt
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
academic art.
Yeah, I feel like the old motto of those who can't do teach does stand the test of time. A lot of people I've came across in academia.
Mm-hmm.
There is exceptions. Like I have met people where, like yeah, Brian Locke, one of the guys I know from Abertay University in Dundee.
Yeah.
He was down at industry workshops a couple of years. I used to catch up with him every year there, and he would mostly go down not just for himself, but also so when he came back to teach, he was very aware of this is what you should be, putting in your portfolio. I think he even actually helped a couple of people get into Access at the time when I was interning there.
Hmm.
The Abertay guys who were coming in had a lot of information from Ryan. So yeah, there is definitely exceptions, but yeah, the vast majority of people I went to school with or was taught by had never had any industry. I mean, perfectly nice people and
Yeah.
really great teachers, but yeah, they didn't have any idea about stuff like even simple stuff like what is ArtStation, and
Hmm.
how to teach concept or how to do 3D to an industry standard. A lot of the stuff that people were getting A's for in the school was stuff that was nowhere near what needed to be for even a junior level. And I think that's a very
Yeah.
consistent thing I've heard through people I've spoke to, even Alex Beddoes we had in recently, and he was
Hmm.
saying the same when he speaks to students. It's very apparent that when people leave university, there's a huge skills gap that needs to be filled really
Yeah.
quickly for people to get work. So, but then were you coming straight out of university into OPAS?
Yeah, pretty much because I was like a part-time intern. I was doing like once or twice a week whilst I
Okay,
was studying my 2-year MA course.
okay,
So by the end of my MA course, I
hmm
asked the boss, just like, oh, would you hire me? And he was just like, I don't know. And then I was like, oh,
very
I was like,
nonchalant.
pretty please. And then he's like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
oh, that's nice, man. Yeah,
yeah,
no, because I heard well, I remember talking to Heath at one point, and he was talking about kind of his road in, and just kind of meeting people at the right time and having these sketchbook with him, and then they kind of brought him over and
yeah.
had a couple of tests and stuff. But then it was great that you had something straight out of your masters that you could just go straight into, because you were there for how long were you there now? A couple of years, right? So,
Yeah,
since you
so
left
I
Opus.
was 2 years as an intern, and then I was 3 years as a professional artist at
Okay,
Opus Artz. Yeah.
right, yeah, and then you would have worked on multiple projects. I'm assuming Division being one of them. That was probably one of the biggest, I think, projects you guys had at the time, right? Was Division. That was like a
Yeah,
huge
yeah,
thing at
yeah.
the time.
That's one of the biggest projects. We did the
Hmm.
first division, and then the I think they had a big patch called like 1.8. I worked on
Right.
that as well.
Cool. Cool.
And yeah, no, and then just did a bunch of other projects like the Elder Scrolls, and
Mm.
um, worked on a game called Crackdown 3, but I can't show anything. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that didn't do
Yeah.
too
Of
well.
course. Yeah. No. They were still doing. I know when I was at Axis, back in the day, they were doing some Crackdown stuff,
Mhm.
and yeah, Destiny and whatever else. But yeah, I think actually, I'm pretty sure that still is done by a Scottish studio. I think the guys are still up here, but yeah, I don't know what had happened since, because I know we both know that Crackdown didn't do super well. So,
Mhm.
I
It's
don't
a
know what
shame.
the
I love the game. The
yeah, I think
original
the
two.
concept
Yeah.
behind it was really good. So yeah, it was a shame that
Mm.
I think it just maybe even came out at the wrong time or didn't have enough momentum, because I think it was getting put off for ages and ages, and it was never coming out, and then eventually it came out and
Yeah.
not to. So anyway, so yeah, so loads of projects, and
Mhm.
you were doing work there, and doing your thing. So what was the kind of thinking behind you were wanting to leave and go be freelance? Was that just a call that you wanted to try and push yourself outside your comfort zone, or was there a project that was kind of calling you at the time that you couldn't really do as part of OPAS, or?
Yeah. So Opus Arts was, they were kind enough that whilst you're working there, you can pursue other projects and
Mhm,
on the side, so you could do freelance work. Because I know a lot of
mhm,
studios, whilst you're working for them,
mhm.
you're not allowed to, indulge on
Do other
other
things.
projects, or else,
Yeah.
that would be like some sort of weird infringement. I don't know. It seems weird to me, but they were nice enough for us to look out for other projects outside of Opus Arts if we really wanted to. It
Mhm.
was it is hard work because you're doing 8 hours in the studio and then you're more or
Yeah.
less going back home, eating, showering, and then pretty much jumping on a project for like 3 or 4 hours before bed, and then
Right.
but yeah, there's quite a few reasons, I suppose. I guess I wanted to challenge myself a lot more. I just really wanted to see what I could do as an artist. At a certain point I felt I was a little stagnating um, as a
Mm.
professional artist at the studio. You know, I really loved the studio. They gave me everything I have now.
Yeah.
But I felt like I just wasn't really growing. I wasn't really seeing much of the world. I wasn't really putting myself at a how do you say it? Like, not, is it a disadvantage or handicap?
Yeah.
Like I needed to
Yeah.
see what I could do myself without someone giving me training wheels.
Yeah.
and yeah, there's a lot of things like that, and
Yeah.
yeah, and plus I wanted to be more flexible with my time. Like London commute was absolutely
Yeah.
killing me. You could be, on average, I was spending anywhere between 2 to 3 hours every day on commutes,
Oh wow.
and especially on rush hour, it's just, yeah, it just takes a
Yeah.
drain on you. So I was just like, I want to be more flexible with my time. I want to concentrate on my health. I want
Hmm.
to do projects that, you know maybe they'll be good, maybe they'll be bad. It doesn't matter. I just wanted to know that I could do jobs outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And
Something that would expand your horizons and
yeah,
make you
yeah.
think a bit differently. But then, are you in central London at the moment? Are you about outside of it, or
So I kind of live in the south of London, like near
okay?
Brixton sort of area. Yeah,
Right. Okay. So you're kind of more or less in the heart of the
yeah, pretty
city.
much. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, since you took on freelance stuff, I mean, you've kind of announced maybe not the projects you're working on, but you have announced like the people you're working with. So,
Mhm.
you're currently working with action studios.
Yeah.
You're doing stuff for Netflix. Um, was there anybody else? I'm trying to remember. Those are the kind of two
There's
criteria I can remember.
Chromosphere,
Okay.
Aardman Studios,
Okay. Interesting.
and
Yeah.
Airbnb, and
Oh, cool.
yeah, yeah,
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah.
So it's all conceptual stuff you're doing for them as well. Kind of the same kind of stuff you were doing at Opus, or
A bit.
well,
Um,
not specifically what you're drawing or making, but like the practice behind it is you're physically drawing things for them.
it's a bit of everything. Actually, this is one thing that I found really good about doing Mornups and having a social media presence is that,
Uh huh.
um, when you put out more and more things online,
Uh
especially certain style, or maybe just
huh.
concentrate on environments or characters, it doesn't matter really.
Yeah.
It seems like, certain types of clients would start to approach you,
Right.
as you get
Okay.
more and more known, and that's actually how I got most of these gigs. Is that people saw what I was doing. I
Right.
was posting daily. I was sort of creating myself a presence,
Right.
and a lot of these studio production managers,
Right. We're seeing this
art
stuff.
directors were seeing this, and they were like, perhaps this guy could, help introduce something into, I don't know,
It's something we're doing.
game or
Yeah.
animation or whatnot,
Right.
into, and then
Right.
create something cool with us. So
Yeah,
that's
because you're doing, especially with the guys you're working with, right? It's less like game focused. It's more animation production focused. Then.
uh to be honest, at the moment I've been getting a bit of everything, which is really good. It's keeping
Cool.
my brain quite,
Active. Yeah.
yeah, quite active, quite fresh. I've had to try to problem solve a lot more.
Cool.
Whilst I was at Opus, we mostly concentrated on video games. We didn't really
Right.
do too much movies or films or animation. And since
Right.
going freelance, I seem to get a bit more animations or gigs, and it's been sort of really cool, really nice in that side of the production.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that something you prefer? Do you think now that you've done a lot, a kind of bit of that now, do you prefer the animation stuff to the game stuff, or do you more like the game stuff? Or
To be honest, I actually like them both. It's
okay,
a bit
fair enough.
greedy of me to say, but
No, no,
yeah,
yeah,
I just really enjoy both the aspects. I just find them so
yeah.
interesting, and
I don't know if you preferred even just the pipeline to one over the other, or the way that you found their problem solved differently was maybe better, or more thought through in animation as opposed to game stuff. I know people sometimes work in games for a couple of
Mhm,
years, and because they're kind of done the same way and have been done the same way for a long
mhm.
time, people can get a bit dry on those pipelines and productions, and they want to try and do something a bit different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just depends on, but it depends again on the upbringing of where you've worked previously
Mhm.
and what you've done. So
Yeah,
that would be really
I
interesting.
didn't get that much of a problem. I guess, because Opus Arts was a outsourced company, we had to take on a variety of clients at the time. So,
Right.
styles and, um, could change from one project to another, and you have to, you'd be one project in the morning, and in the afternoon you'd be on a different project with completely different style or
Yeah.
look, and you
Yeah.
had to do that constantly, and the next day it'll be another client with a different style and look. So
Yeah.
I sort of, just, I it isn't too bad to flip the switch for like changing styles and,
Right.
like how I problem solve, these
Yeah,
sort of
you're still
issues.
kind of doing the same things, just in a different setting or a different
Yeah,
environment.
I've
So
been
yeah.
sort of trained to, deal with the situation, and
Yeah,
yeah,
of course.
it's all right.
I think a lot of design in general is problem solving. I mean, even when I've looked
Hmm.
into, recently some user interface stuff, you're still kind of doing the same thing. You're still trying to solve a visual problem that
Hmm.
needs to be addressed. So, and I think that's also, why Access appeals to studios like Access appeal to
Yeah.
people because the projects are so varied. When I was there, they were working on, a slew of different stuff that all had different styles artistically and different
Mhm.
style approaches, and there was some TV stuff, some game stuff, so it was all, you could work there for 1 year and work with, like, maybe 10 different clients that all had
Yeah.
different premises. So it was that, I think that's why that kind of stuff, even Opus will have the same thing,
Mhm.
where you work on such varied things, but again they're probably more game focused, whereas Access is taking on, also stuff from TV, film,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So yeah, so I mean, now that you've been working from home for a
Mhm.
couple of months, I'm assuming you're not going stir crazy. I'm assuming you're still
No, no,
trying to.
I
Yeah,
love staying at home.
yeah, awesome, man. So is that because then you're getting the best of both worlds, where you're getting to work on projects, but if you want to stop and go to the gym or do a bit of training, then that's no as big an ask. And again, you've not got the commute, so you're rescuing a couple of hours each day from your
Mhm.
schedule. So I take it is that something? Maybe, I mean, it might be too early to ask, but then again with this quarantine, we don't know. But is freelance something you think you could see yourself doing in the long run?
Uh, f- like for now, I think I wouldn't mind just doing freelance. I haven't particularly gone like crazy just talking to myself yet. So,
Right. Yeah.
um, I think the most important aspect of just working freelance is that you just sort of have to have a regimented timetable. Even though I say that, I just sort of do whatever every day. I just make sure that
Yeah.
I clock in like at least, uh, 8 hours a day, maybe 8 to 10 hours
Right.
a day, working, whether it's on like one or two projects, and then
Yeah.
making sure that I have time to, exercise, stretch, go to the gym, do my grocery
Right.
shopping.
Of course.
Um, yeah, it's just making sure that you follow like a strict routine and making sure that you get everything done every day, because it's really
Right.
easy when you work at home. You just procrastinate. You just like, your work gets done. I'll
Yeah.
just do it later,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just important just to make sure everything gets, sorted in the beginning, and then it makes your life a lot easier than just guessing your day through.
Yeah, because we, at the time of recording this, previously we spoke to Max Berman about his
Hmm.
article on tips from working from home. And of course, he's been doing it kind of consistently for years while
Hmm.
he was doing film production stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so is there anything you feel like, I mean, maybe not just stating the obvious, but maybe even something particularly you found that has helped you work from home or helped you be consistent? I mean, I'm assuming your Mornups are part of that.
Yeah.
That's something that will be helping you make sure that your brain is switched on to working at the start of the day. Is there anything else you find that you do every day that kind of helps push you along?
Uh,
I know,
Coffee.
big
Coffee
question. Oh,
definitely
coffee, yeah, of
helps.
course,
Stretching
yeah,
helps.
yeah.
Mostly that, to be honest. My wife helps.
Oh,
She's
okay,
the one that
okay.
usually boots me out of bed if I decide to sleep. And
So it must be a terrible marriage if she's
yeah,
kicking you in bed in the
yeah,
morning.
I think having a good support system in place and
Yeah,
making sure you have a routine helps.
yep,
Breaking routines is usually something that kind of screws people over, because then it's hard to get back into a routine.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Almost
so
impossible. Yeah,
yeah, so kind of like going to the gym, I suppose. Like as long as you know that you got to do 2 or 3 days at a gym,
right.
or two, or go for a run or whatnot.
Yeah,
As long as
aye,
you know you got to hit that target for the week,
right.
then it helps, makes it easier for next week and then the week after and the week after, because you're just setting like it. I guess your brain just knows that you sort of like, um, it's sort of like a comfort zone. Like just daily
Yeah,
routines feel good, and if you do it enough, then your brain's just like, yeah, this is normal. And
yeah. I think consistency is key in most things we do because it is very easy to switch off and think that, oh, I can deal with that thing later. Or I think the immediacy, keeping on top of things, is what keeps you consistent because it's it's too easy to fall into those patterns of just not want to do anything. I think the hardest thing is being consistent and staying on task, and getting your exercise in every day, making sure you're eating regularly and healthy, making sure that you're going for regular walks or standing up, and you know obviously on top of that try to study things. So I think it's definitely, I found that this career is one of the hardest I think I've found on the planet at the moment, especially working in entertainment. It is such
Mhm.
a demanding industry, but then it also takes a toll mentally on people because you do have to sacrifice so much of yourself and time to make sure that you stay employed and stay
Yeah,
relevant.
yeah.
So and talking about that as well with social media,
Mhm.
have you found that, I mean, you talk about, you've probably got work from your Mornups, and that's definitely been consistent. Is there any other benefits you've seen to having a daily presence online apart from just work?
I guess connections. I start to
Hmm.
know a lot more people from around the world, like LA and
Hmm.
Montreal, and even around
Right.
Europe. Um,
Yep.
it helps knowing more and more artists around the world, and then you realize like how small the art community is. Like there are thousands of super talented people like who are way better than me, but you realize just how small the world is,
Yeah.
and everyone has the same insecurities and the same
Yep.
love and interest, and it's really cool to sort of knowing these people just through social media, and you're sort of able to set like kind of like a goals or a
Yeah.
bar to obtain
Yeah. Of course.
when you talk to these people, and you might even become like great friends with them as well. So
Of course.
yeah, and through social media, I've become relatively good friends with a lot of these artists, and we
Yeah.
exchange tips or files and ideas and stuff.
Yeah. I think it's also good because it does also help, I think, with just mental stimulation and motivation, because when
Hmm.
you see other people, you know, uh, you see other people doing that, other things that are like, regular or daily, or things that are getting published with these great projects.
Hmm.
And it does also encourage you to be like, oh shit, well, I need to now push myself because they're doing really well. It's like, I think,
Yeah,
when you would have been at Opus, working and stuff, because you would have had people kind of the left and right of you, and you're seeing what they're working on, also you're also like, oh shit, right, okay, I need to now meet them, or surpass them or equal them.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that's why
definitely.
social media is a good thing for that. But then also it's a double edged sword, right? You've got to try and also not lose yourself in social media and
Hmm.
become addicted in a sense,
Yeah, of
or
course.
reliant on it. So have you found there's a balance you've got to have? Do you kind of maybe even, put your phone on silent for most of the day? Do you try to kind of keep away from it in emails and stuff?
Yeah, I try to. Well, at least I'm trying to. At least turn off my phone during the evenings and stuff, just
Hmm.
because it's really addicting just to watch that like count just go up. It's
Hmm.
it's uh it's just that that dopamine that you get just from like just people liking your stuff, and
Right.
it gives you uh I guess it's kind of like a false ego sort of thing. It's
Right.
like you just get like a slight ego from it. You just gotta check yourself every once in a while, just like
Yep.
like you know just make sure you stay humble, make
Yep.
sure you don't go crazy from social media and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think. Yeah.
especially like what you were talking about a moment ago, like when I started doing this Mornups, it was definitely because I was working with super talented artists at the time. You know, um, I worked with a friend called Felix Bauer, who
Hmm.
currently working at EA, I think, or
Uh huh.
was it Criterion? Criterion
Okay. Yeah.
EA. Alex Heath, my friend Alex Heath,
Of
working
course.
for Riot and Magic.
Yep.
um, Daniel Matthews, who worked on the latest, was it Captain
The
Marvel or
Yeah,
something?
he's a trickster now in Germany, right?
Yeah,
Berlin.
yeah, and these people are just. Oh, and then my friend Quentin, who's
Hmm.
working as art director at Toei Animation. So these
Right.
people were like right next to me every day, just being super talented artists, and I'm just like checking myself, like, oh my god, like how do
Yeah.
I compare to these guys?
Yeah.
So this is the whole reason why I we're starting to do these mornings, because I realized like the reason why they're so good is because they got the basics down. They understand color, they
The
understand
fundamentals.
perspective, and all sorts of the basic aspects of just painting
Hmm.
and designing and illustration. So I had to really push myself, and posting every day also was like kind of it's a thing that comes with like a lot of new artists.
Right.
Even actually even like a lot of senior artists get this as well. Is that um, is the perfection aspect? Is that they can
Right.
only post things that are done
Yeah.
perfect, things that they know is just like, it's really hard to like scrutinize their work, or they think
Yeah.
there's no
Of course.
flow in it. But
Yeah. No.
my idea was just me posting every day, just show, you know hopefully I show that I'm like a human being, that like, not every daily warm up I do is perfect.
Right.
Sometimes I do crappy ones. Sometimes I'm just doing something that's completely abstract, or I'm just
Mm.
testing out new brushes or ideas or software,
Yeah.
or just something cool I saw. Or maybe I'm just playing with like color dynamics or something.
Yeah.
It's just to get over that perfection aspect and just post things, show that I'm, a flexible person, but I'm able to evolve whilst
Yeah.
I'm
Of course.
doing all these weird worn up drawings and stuff.
Yeah. But then that's it's not going to help, of course, when you get really cool articles on 80 level when people are featuring you, and then you get random internet dicks saying that you're basically just copying photos. I mean, like,
Oh yeah, I don't
yeah.
know.
If you guys don't know, there was so Henry recently had an 80 level article featured on him about his Mornups, and they were covering his whole process. And one of the top comments was, I think there was only maybe 3 comments on the whole thing, but one of the guys was like, "Oh yeah, I talked about people doing concept art and how hard it's going to be, but this guy's, he's just adjusting these photographs and Photoshop with a filter, and he's not even really drawing. This stuff is terrible." And of course, like I just couldn't like control myself, and I had to go and post it. And I was like, you little shit, fucking like,
Oh, thanks,
what the
dude.
fuck you talking? You said about Henry, this guy's talented. You don't even know what you're talking about. But yeah, man, it's difficult when because like I said again, the social media is a double edged sword, right?
Yeah,
You've
of
got
course. Yeah.
the post stuff and you feel good, but then of course there's people sometimes you're posting who aren't artists, who don't know the industry, and
Mhm.
will just try to tear you down. And I mean, it's sometimes it's. I mean, I think I go in extremes where I either have way too much of it, or like if I go cold turkey,
Yeah.
I start to get withdrawals. But then it's difficult when you look at. I remember there was a recent study I just watched. It was only a couple of days ago, where someone talked about social media or your phone in general is seen as something that can actually be um, compared to alcoholism, where
Oh
like
yeah.
if you put your phone down, like and you walk away from it, like how long would you walk away from your phone before you start twitching, or you're like, oh, I need to check it, I need to pick up my phone up, I need to
Yeah.
check it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's just so ingrained, I think, in people's daily routines, that
Mhm.
it's hard to now think about like a life without your phone. So it's definitely something I think everybody now, especially like people my age, where like I'm 34 just now, and
Mhm.
I grew up, 2009 and that, like when social media was starting to just become a thing. I've grown up with it as it's basically became a thing, and I think that's why sometimes it's hard to see the effects, or be very aware of them going in, with open eyes,
Mhm.
because it's so new. We don't really know the full extent of
Right.
what this is doing to us. But then I think now we're seeing that the biggest trend with social media is that there is more depression in the world. People are very, very aware of their bodies, their
Mhm.
career, their partners, or whatever, because it's social media tends to only show like the most perfect side of people, or the
Yeah.
most perfect side of art. Even people, who might be looking at your Mornups every morning and thinking, oh my God, this stuff's incredible and I'm never going to be that good. But then
Yeah.
they don't see like the almost 10-year journey you've had from going to school and interning and working on projects and
Yeah.
sitting every night trying to practice. Like they only see the tip of the iceberg, right? They only see the end result. And I
Yeah.
think,
I mean,
yeah,
absolutely. Like, I mean, I definitely fall into the same traps of just seeing things online and not understanding people's journey and like what they had to
yeah,
go through to get in that way, whether it's body or the art. And I mean,
yeah,
and definitely people like message me like, I don't understand how you do these born ups and stuff.
mm,
And yeah, I mean, it's just working through consistently. But and addressing something that you said earlier on, even though I did get that negative comment, and
mm,
it is really easy to get wrapped up around the internet and get
yeah,
get bothered by like just mean people. Like
of course,
the majority of art, like I'd say like 95%, maybe not 98 even
right,
percent of people who love art, who does art, like are really
mhm,
nice people in general. Like they just
of course,
most people just want to get better at art, and they also want to support people who
right,
are good at art. And there's no point to just hating. There are some people who are just angry and they just
yeah,
want to vent. And I like to like. even though that guy like said the weird thing about my like artwork and stuff,
Mm.
I didn't, I didn't really feel sad or angry about it. I was just more shocked. Like it's like I was just thinking
Yeah.
more along the lines like, why would someone like this person must be having like a bad day? There must be some sort of like, you know, sadness or something
Yeah.
going on in his head for him just to
To be
lash
mean to
out. Yeah,
somebody.
just to lash out on someone who they don't even know. It just
I
seems
know.
like such a weird thing to do.
Yeah, I think it's just even sometimes when people are perhaps on their journey for art as well, and they feel like because they can't do it or aren't at the level yet where they feel they're making stuff productively, they want to then tear down the person next to them. So they're like, oh well, you're only using a filter. So they're like, it makes them feel better about their art. Like, oh, they couldn't have possibly done that by hand. They couldn't have possibly, rendered that with their own brush, or they have to have cheated because I can't do that yet. So
Hmm.
how can they do that? But then when
You
you
know
have
what?
an
People said that about people who did the background art for Spider Verse, which was, Spider
what?
Verse is just like an entire different category, of course. But like,
Jesus.
people are saying like, oh, this isn't art. What did they say? They said something along the lines like, oh, they just put like a cool filter over it, and that's all they did. And I was like, are you insane? Like,
God.
I just,
I know
yeah,
that film is like one of the greatest works of art. Like we just don't deserve films like that, because like the many people I know that went to see that, and then I was like, oh, what did you think of it? And they're like, it was all right. I'm like, oh my god, oh
Oh
Jesus
no,
Christ,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what are you talking about? But it's like, I mean, when I went to, when was it? Was it last IMAG I went to? And Bastian was showing some of his stuff off that he worked
Mhm,
with his partner on the studio stuff, and
mhm.
it was just like, oh my god, like such amazing concepts, and Viz Dev, and then that movie came out, and it was just like it blew. But I think it was because people had this preconception of animated films, right? That like either they're for kids, or
Mhm.
like there's not as much money goes into it as normal films, which is also true.
Yeah.
But then there's this whole stigma with it. But then I remember watching that thing from start to finish, and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah,
like
I was
what
blown away by it. It was
the animation
amazing. Yeah.
style, the rendering, oh god almighty. And and it's hard to, when people, you're trying to obviously fill in the blanks about how they're achieving these effects, and
Mhm.
where they're getting the idea, and like, yeah, but it's 3D, but it's mixed with a 2D effect, so it looks like it's 2D. And even like claws, like
Right.
there was a Klaus, I don't remember how can you say the word, but when that, I mean, that getting teased by one of the ADs in that project years ago, when they just made like a 3 minute, kind of proof of concept thing
Yeah,
with
yeah,
a
I
with
remember
the
that.
guy. But then to see that finally now, and thank God it won, a lot of awards. I was actually kind of
Mhm.
gutted that it didn't win more at the Oscars. I didn't think it
Yeah,
actually
well,
did it.
the Oscars is a bit.
Well, of course, yeah, we know what the Oscars is like, but yeah, like I feel like there really should be a, a more emphasis on a lot of these animated films and features getting more awards and more recognition, because some of the stuff that's came out the last couple of years, and it's just been mind blowing. I mean, Spider Verse, we're getting a sequel for it, thank God. But
Yeah.
um, I think even then, when they done that at the box office, it done well, but it didn't do like exceedingly well. It didn't make like a lot of money
Right.
back. But then I think it made enough that we're like, well, we can justify making a sequel. So, um, but yeah, people don't deserve those films because they're so well executed and done, and well, people will watch them and then come back out and like, it was all right. Yeah, it was fine. It was a Spider-Man film,
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
it's just part of the whole superhero. What people were saying, like superhero fatigue. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just like, you know, I'm just the idiot who goes to every superhero film just because
No,
I'm
but I
a
mean, like
big
a good
honker.
idiot, my
But
my type idiot. Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah. But then I mean, like even my parents, I know sometimes I tried to get them to watch stuff like Endgame, and they're still in the way of like, I know, it's comic books, it's for kids. But
Yeah.
then the way I actually converted them was because my parents, well, my dad's especially, but my parents both love the Jason Bourne films.
Right. Right.
Um, so I got them to watch the Captain America stuff, because they're pretty much like on par with like what Bourne is doing. Like
Mhm.
even the second one is a Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
and especially even the first one, because my dad loves war films. So I was like, oh yeah, you would love this, because it takes place in the Second World War,
Mhm.
and then the second one was like, it was like Jason Bourne, and
Mhm.
so like that then entered them into because they were like, oh well, what else can we watch? And then they heard from people like, oh, Thor's really funny, like the latest Thor was really good, so they watched Ragnarok, and then they
Right.
wanted to go back and watch the other ones. So I think it is crossing that barrier of like trying to explain to people that the Marvel Cinematic Universe and even DC is no longer for kids. Like, it is very of the way that people that grow up watching this stuff, but now they're all adults, they're like my age, so they want the more no, the PG, the 18 rated stuff. So like that's why like Deadpool was so successful, because of like it crossed that barrier into like an adult comic book film.
Right.
So and I think it's the same with games, right? Like games also now are crossing that barrier where people want to see grittier, realer, harsher stuff, or things that are less handholdy and let you just kind of take the reins. It's the reason why I think Zelda done so well,
Yeah,
because
of
it was
course.
more like just letting you go and explore and be yourself, and no holding your hand every 2 seconds or having a fairy yelling in your ear, listen every 2 seconds. So, but yeah, then I think that's also great with the way art's evolved as well, because you all seen the full arc, right, from coming as an intern at Opus and then like
Yeah.
looking at how concept art sits now in the industry. Like, I suppose, what's your biggest takeaway from that timeline? Do you feel like now almost like the production side you're doing now is more like in line with films than what it used to be more? I don't know, I'm trying to think what I'm trying to say, but with games especially, I think there was a time when games wasn't taken seriously either, and then
No,
like the art
I
that
think I understand what you mean. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I think both games and uh like games and video games and even TV series,
Mhm.
they both influence one another. Like, to be
Right,
honest, like like especially games like was it Last of Us and
yeah,
God of War, they're very story driven, and they're almost to a degree where they're almost like cinematic, could be cinematic stories to an extent.
yes,
And and there's a lot of like there's a lot of films being made. Like Ready Player One was an example where they're trying to
yeah,
bridge that video game gap. Of
yeah.
course, I mean they've been doing it for ages. They've done those like awful like 80s 90s films, like was it the Mario Brothers or Street
Oh
Fighter
god, yeah,
movies? I mean, I love
Jesus,
them because they're
yeah, yeah.
so goofy, but
They are amazing,
I
but
mean
yeah,
they've been doing stuff like that for ages, to be honest.
yeah. But
And
no, I
even
think
TV
yeah,
series, like was it Picard? I think Red Letter Media actually talked about it. Is that they
oh
pretty
yeah.
much stole like the whole premise of like Mass Effect 3, which is the worst Effect, of
I was
course.
going to say, yeah,
Yeah,
two's my favorite. So
yeah,
yeah, but yeah, no, I think it's the way that things have evolved into just being, like the art form being seen as a serious medium. I mean, even when back in the day I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, like
yeah,
for the first time, and I mean I've got Aang tattooed on my arm now, but like that TV show was probably very meant for kids, but there was so much adult themes in it.
right,
Like
right,
death, sacrifice, friendship, loyalty, honor, all that kind of stuff was just like for a lot of people, I think growing up in the 90s and 2000s, like TV and media raised them. It taught them right from
right,
wrong. And I think with stuff like Avatar, people would look at it as though it was for kids, but it was a very, in parts, it was a very adult show. And
right,
yeah, because people die in it, and he's got to kill the emperor at the end, and then he's like, oh no, just take away his powers because I've got a high moral code. I think even part of the reason, eventually when I went vegetarian was because Aang was vegetarian. So it was
right,
like, yeah, a lot of these shows now are growing up and finding their own voice, and I think films have had a long history where they've been around since the early 1900s, even before that. But games, especially, and maybe even like animated shows, are very very young. So I think that's why now we're only getting to a point where people are starting to maybe pay attention, because Marvel especially have been like
Mhm.
at the forefront of that, which is good and bad, because
I mean, I
it's
don't
good.
know. I mean, like
Yeah.
in Japan, for example, like Studio
Oh
Ghibli
yeah,
has always been
yeah, anime's always been a huge, but then I think,
right.
I mean, like Western media getting adult now and taking stuff seriously. I mean, I know in the East things like that have been taken seriously for a long, long time.
Hmm.
I think we were having this conversation the other day about there's so many martial artists and bodybuilders in the world that were influenced by Dragon Ball Z, which
Yeah,
I
of
think
course.
you know what I mean? So, I mean, like Goku and Vegeta were ripped. So, I mean, like, you were always like, I really want to be like that, or I want to learn martial arts. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, like
I
that.
mean,
And
I
then,
wanted to be a Power Ranger, but like I took up tricking and martial arts because I thought I could be one of the stunt people for the Power
oh,
Rangers,
for Power
and
Rangers.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, no.
it's just such a stupid goal, but
No, but
yeah,
that's cool, man. I'm like, no, I love the fact I've never actually thought about tricking for a while, because I remember the last time I was kind of looking at it was when Sean was putting up
yeah,
videos about.
right, right, yeah, he's crazy good.
Yeah, but and also Scottish way. But
Yeah,
yeah, the Power Ranger stuff, like it's funny to see even some of the like the guy who plays the Green Ranger, the guy who's played Tommy
oh
years
yeah,
ago.
Tommy, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he's still doing appearances, he's still doing
of
like
course.
cameos, and oh man, like that stuff is. And then it was funny because I actually get some really awesome jewelry from a place called Han Cholo, and they make like custom yeah, they make like rings and necklaces that are based on pop culture stuff.
Yeah.
And they've just recently done a Power Rangers line,
Oh,
so you can
nice.
get like a mini like morpher thing as a ring, or like the White Rangers helmet as a ring as well, and stuff like that. But yeah, like a lot of that stuff is still today like very very in the media's eyes, and people are still thinking about stuff like Power Rangers. But yeah, it's like there's so much influence, I think, from the East that's now came into the West. And you look at even stuff like, like Riot Games specifically, or play, even Blizzard back in the day. But then they were very heavily, I think, influenced now from a lot of Eastern styles of drawing, and people doing art in that style. And it's very, it looks like a Western thing now, but it is still very much, I think, influenced from there. Um, Even back in the day when I remember like Alvin Lee, doing a lot of the early stuff with Marvel, and then he
Hmm.
eventually moved to Riot. Like he influenced a lot of their splash screen stuff. And so yeah, like there's been a whole transition of East meets West. And
Hmm.
yeah, is that something that you've always tried to? I mean, you talked about early on in your career you were wanting to even draw manga, and you said you have a friend also that is working with toy animation.
Right, right.
Is that like something eventually you would want to maybe try and like maybe go work that side of the world, or
Man, I wouldn't. I would love to work in like Toei Animation or like a Japanese
right?
company.
Yeah.
It's still a go, but to be honest,
Mhm.
I suck so bad at
Oh
inking
man, you're
and
too hard on
manga
yourself,
style.
man.
So I'm like, oh man, that's like a whole new thing to learn. Maybe that'll be my new
Yeah.
warm like Mornup or warm up.
Warm up, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I've seen people doing. One of my friends in Glasgow at the moment, he's trying to learn just to get better at drawing, and he's trying to do one comic every day, even if
Yeah,
it's like a really short one. He's trying
of
to just
course.
make something every day. So that could be a thing. I know when I was at THU, I managed to meet Shuvo, who is the CEO at Polygon Pictures in
Yep.
Tokyo,
Hmm.
and they're always looking for talented people. So yeah, definitely would be a thing. Like if you just chapped on the door at one point or got in touch with him, I think he would definitely be interested in doing some projects. But then I think a lot of their stuff is on site, so it would be like you probably have to go and live in Tokyo.
Maybe I wouldn't mind. I'm still young.
Nah, I wouldn't either, man.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm quite happy to go. So yeah, it was. I think it was the same where even I was over at California for Lightbox. Like LA is cool, and like getting to see Riot Games and Blizzard, it was
Mhm.
really awesome to go visit those places. But I'm still not 100% if I'd want to live in California,
Did you
mostly
book for
because
a Lightbox already? Just
no,
asking.
no, I went last year,
Okay.
so I managed to get a pass off Raf to go and like help him at his table while he
Yeah.
was doing stuff. But then when I was out there, like people knew I was out, so like David Long got in touch and he was like, "Do you want to come
Nice.
see Blizzard?" And then I knew like all my friends at Riot just now. She's working on the recently announced FPS game,
Oh, awesome.
so she was there as an environment artist. So she's like, "Oh yeah, if you pop by Riot, like I can give you a tour." So I went and saw Riot. So like yeah, really awesome studios, really amazing stuff. But then I'm like, to live in LA, I mean, I think if you have enough money and you can get to a nice area, it would be fine. But then I think the thing that shocked me most about Los Angeles was just like the homeless population, like the
Oh
homelessness
yeah,
rate.
they got like crazy homeless towns out there.
Oh man, it was. We were driving by, I think, one morning to go to the Pasadena to the convention center,
Mhm.
and you were passing parks where like 10, 15 people were like washing themselves in the lake, and
Yeah, it's
the guy
pretty
was.
sad to be honest.
It's crazy, man. But it's because there's such a huge concentration of people in one place. And you see even when you drive down like the 401 and stuff, like there's whole shanty towns set up on the underpasses with people living in tents, and
Hmm.
basically that's their home, and it's crazy. So I think it would be great to maybe like when people have got the opportunity like Heath, to work for Riot like remotely, still live in London, but he gets to work on Riot splash art and stuff, and then also Magic the Gathering. So I think that's like the ultimate, is that you find somewhere you like to live, but then you can still get to work with all these great studios.
Right, right.
So yeah, and is that something that's also in the cards for you at one point? Are you looking towards like you would love to eventually maybe do stuff like Magic or Riot or
Yeah,
uh,
I totally uh would love to work for like Magic and Riot and
right?
stuff in the future.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, especially Magic cards, like it's it dominates so much like aspect of my life. I spend so much money on cards. Like and the worst thing about being freelance is that
Uh,
I don't hang out with people as much as I should.
okay,
So
right.
I'm just hoarding all these like new sets, just like in my
Oh,
room, and I'm just like deck building. I mostly play like was it like Commander, which is
oh yeah,
like a 4-person format,
yeah.
and I just got all these cards, and I'm like, yeah. So it's just I don't even know why I
I
have
need
so much cards.
friends. But then I think it's easy as well because now you live kind of relatively close to London, so you
Right.
probably. I mean, do you still like see like, a lot of the guys from Opus now and again, or
Yeah, I tried to.
Hmm.
They're also like successful and
Yeah, and
like
have their own
just
stuff going?
working all the time. So like
Yeah.
it's hard to meet them up with.
Of course, yeah, but then I think that's good why we have things like Discord communities and streaming and all that kind of stuff. And I think the last couple of times I've seen Heathdraw was when
Yeah.
he was doing his entry for the Art War stuff
Hmm.
when he done the shark with
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
so it was great watching him do that kind of stuff. So yeah, but then again because without Twitch you wouldn't have got to see that process. But it was really awesome just to sit and watch him draw every day, and it was also good because I could put him in the background of my monitor, and then just when I was sitting drawing stuff, I was having him in the background was inspiring me, with drawing stuff. So, but yeah, it's just I think Magic and all this stuff is like the ultimate. And again, because I play Magic as well, I really need
yeah.
to get my girlfriend in it at one point because I can't just keep playing
Yeah,
matches.
I've been trying to get my wife into it, and she just zones out. Like, there's this like what would you call it? A thousand yard stare. She just like,
Oh
just
yeah,
like, what are you talking about, you nerd? I'm
yeah.
just like,
Just like
oh
mana,
man,
hills, mountains. What's going on here?
it's like, what
So
are you doing?
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, man. So I mean, like, so you've got these projects on the go. You're doing your freelance thing, and then moving down into the future, you're looking towards you'd love to move across or work in Japan or do stuff for Riot.
Yeah,
Um, what are your kind of interests that are keeping you sane outside of your art? I mean, I know you're talking about martial arts is like a huge part of your
yeah,
life.
yeah.
Is there anything else on top of that, or
Oh man,
a
yeah.
lot of
Aside
stuff?
from art and martial arts, yeah. I mean, I love watching like fights, like the boxing and MMA and
Okay, yeah,
kickboxing and Muay Thai.
right.
Magic cards really
Mhm.
do occupy a lot of my time because I'm always just like, was it the Command Zone podcast or something like that? I'm just
All right,
always
okay,
trying to learn like what the next best deck is or the new card set and stuff.
right,
Um, I guess like comic books and
right.
books and stuff in general. I recently, I'm a big fan of like Batman comics, so I try my best to like keep up with the
Cool.
series and recently read a book called was it I'll Be Gone in the Dark, which is about uh was it the what do they call him, the Golden State Killer, which
Oh,
is
okay.
which or Golden Bridge, no, yeah, Golden State Killer, and it's just yeah, it's a pretty gnarly book, but it's really well
Nice.
written. So
Cool.
yeah,
Cool. So that's your kind of. Do you do the kind of the whole self motivation thing as well? Is there any kind of like what they call power books? Is there anything you're kind of reading? Just I mean, I know like for me, I'm just about to start reading, or I have been reading like the first chapter of Cal Newport's Deep Work. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
no, I haven't heard of it.
I'll need to pass that on to you. It's a really good one.
Okay.
It's all about the guy's. He's like a thesis PhD professor, like a really really high end academic, and he's wrote this book called Deep. It's Deep Work. I think it's Deep
Hmm.
Work, and it's all about how focus concentration can produce some like amazing results. And he talks
Yeah.
about like completely like cutting himself off from the world and just focus on solely on one task all the time, and that's how
Hmm.
he's found that he's been like so successful. And other people he's seen who have done multiple papers on research every year or have produced like amazing books and other things, it's because they almost like cut themselves off from society at one point, or like seclude themselves to cabins in the woods and make sure that they're only writing with an old style typewriter. Like there's no electronic because I feel like that's the balance, right? Is that there's so many distractions now,
Hmm.
especially when you're freelance. Like you're like, oh, I can just like fire up Call of Duty or something, or I
Right.
can like, oh, I can sit and play Magic Online or whatever. But like the distractions is something that I think we fight against every
Hmm.
day, and I think Deep Work is a very good book all about that struggle and how to
I see.
overcome it.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll let you
Um.
pass.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things. I thought going freelance, I'd have plenty of time to play like video games. When the Witcher game came out, no, Witcher
Oh,
TV series came out, I thought like
yeah,
I'd play more Witcher 3, or it was like with the new Animal Crossing coming out, for play like Animal Crossing. I hadn't even
oh yeah,
had any time to play any games. I'd just been like working
you're so
consistently and
busy. I
keeping
know.
things that like keep the house from falling apart. But,
Yeah,
just
basically.
yeah, it's just I
I think
think
it's also because when you're freelance, is also because
yeah.
you don't want to say no to stuff, right? You're just kind of saying yes to everything.
Yeah, kind of. At the moment, I do sort of do that. I'm getting a bit better about not saying
Mhm.
yes to everything,
Right.
just because I do want time for myself. But
Yourself, yeah.
Um,
But it's hard though as well because if a good opportunity comes along, even though if it's amazing, you're still having to be like, oh, do I really need to take it? I don't know.
I
I'm not
mean,
gonna.
it just depends on like again. This goes back to just writing like a good timetable for yourself. Like if
Hmm.
you have a set timetable in your diary or whatnot, or your
Yeah.
calendar,
Yep.
if you know like how many hours you're supposed to spend on each project each week, and you know that there's possibility of there being enough time to take on another project,
Right.
like I'm very like I try to be as transparent as possible to my clients to say,
Yeah.
I'm working with like other clients. Like, are you happy with me, doing a certain amount of hours or amount of
Right.
days
Yeah.
on your project? And most of them are pretty understanding. Will like usually, come to like middle ground.
Yeah.
And if you really like the project, sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. But
Yeah.
yeah, and
It's all about timing, I think, and as I'd like to say, as long as you're being the keyword there, transparent.
yeah,
As long as you're being very open that, like, look, I've got work on and there's things going on, but then I do want to work with you. So I mean, maybe we could find the middle ground. So I think most companies that are decent, will be like, oh, that's cool, yeah, we can work something out.
yeah,
So, but then I mean, it's good also because then it depends on the production line because you might have like a couple of months to finish something or a couple of weeks. So. You can always like say if you're scheduling properly using a calendar, you can be like, oh well, I've got a gap here, or I've got something coming
yeah.
up that's kind of finishing, so I can take this on.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the
yeah,
worst thing to do is just take on the client and then then suddenly messaging their production manager saying like, oh, I can't do this work.
can't finish it.
I can't finish it.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. I'm way behind schedule. That's the
Uh,
worst thing to do. I
yeah,
that hasn't happened to me yet, but
yeah,
I try not to have things like that happen. I mean, like of course, maybe there's the family circumstances or things pop up, health reasons. I
right,
mean,
yeah,
that could, but like again, transparency helps. Like,
yeah,
you just gotta let people know, like you can't just be like taking all the jobs
yeah,
and then not delivering. That's
of course.
just a really bad PR move on your
I
side.
think
So
a lot of companies are very aware that they have to start treating their employees like they're human beings, and of
right,
course, every human has times when you're sick or you're tied up for something or
hmm,
something's happened where you've not thought about it last minute and you need to do something else. So yeah, I think as long as there's no consistency in that, also, as long as you're not consistently saying to people, "Oh, I'll take work on," but then consistently being like, "Oh, I can't finish it." So, I think that's the thing we talked about not too long ago, even with Alex, where something I never really understood in this industry, but then I think it was just part of me just not being as professional as I could be, but it was
hmm,
also like completing a task, but making sure that you're putting your everything into that task, like you're making sure that like you're proud of that work and you're finishing it to the best of your ability. You're not just like, oh, that's good enough or that'll do, or oh, well, it's only a such, so I don't need to actually put any effort in. As long as you're going in a mindset when you're working with people is that everything you're producing is like something you are proud of. Like you're like,
yeah,
oh, I'm proud I worked on that. That piece was really good. I really tried my hardest. I think as long as that's the consistency and as long as
hmm,
you're making sure that that is your or the thing you're maybe known for most is that you are professional, you will do things to the best of your ability.
yeah, yeah,
I think that's all people can really ask for in the end. You can't really ask much more. So um yeah, definitely.
of course.
um cool, man. So I've kept you away for long enough. You probably got things you want to do this weekend, although
Yeah, no
with
worries,
the way
dude.
with the way what London's locked down, I don't know if you'll be doing much, but then I suppose you might even go for a walk. Or how is it there in London just now? Are you still able to get out of the house and kind
Yeah,
of go
of
to the shop?
course. Like the news makes it sound like London's just like
It's in the
absolute
middle of a
chaos.
purge.
People put up like boarded up their windows and stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's-
Shaun of the Dead kind of
I
thing.
mean, the only thing that's happened is like their supermarkets are all like like at least the large ones are all like wiped out. Like I have a local
Right.
Sainsbury's and it's just like you can't buy anything. You buy like window
Yeah.
cleaner and a
Uh,
pack of cookies maybe.
oh.
I mean, I don't know if you can survive on
Just
that,
don't
but
confuse those two things. Yeah, man. No, that's fine. No, again, hopefully, we'll see how this goes on, and it'll be fun. Maybe even looking back in a year from now, listening to this podcast, thinking, "Oh God, that was an interesting time." But yeah. So, thanks for coming on and speaking to us, Henry. It
yeah,
was,
no
it was
worries.
really,
Oh,
really fun.
actually, can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
Just before I go, yeah. So, I mean, I know if anyone even wants to listen to me talk on this podcast, and you got this far, yeah, like since we're all in lockdown and the coronavirus, and a lot of most artists work at home now. If in most studios they're even
Yeah.
encouraging to work at home.
Mm.
Yeah, try to reach out to all your friends and
Mm-hmm.
especially your art friends in particular, and
Mm-hmm.
try to keep everyone from going crazy. Try to support everyone at this time. Share their artwork online. Some people might have lost their jobs around this time, especially artists. So make sure you like share people's artworks on social media. Try to promote your friends and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
There's a hashtag going about on Instagram at the moment. I think it's artists supporting artists, and
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
tag like a bunch of artists, and then somebody else tags a bunch of artists. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's one of these things in the darkest times. I know even like the at the time of this recording, it'll be fine because they have announced that Kit Bash are giving away one of the Utopia kits for free because
Oh,
they
yeah.
want people to use that Utopia kit to make something like what's the word, like a bright version of the future, like something
Yeah.
really nice,
Hmm.
and share it. And they're going to try and retweet or repost as much of the artworks that people make as they can. So that's also an opportunity to help people and come together as a community. And yeah, you're right. Like one of my friends literally yesterday messaged me saying that she'd lost her job because of the virus. So
Oh, man.
yeah, she just started at
Mhm.
an archfish place in Edinburgh, and yeah, they kind of just said straight away that they need to let her go because of the projects and stuff. But yeah, it's a shame. So I think it is definitely, you're right, Henry, that in this darkest time we need to try and come together and make sure that we're all helping each other. I know there's a few things going on. People are giving away a lot of stuff for free, or they're offering discounts. So if you keep an eye on a lot of your emails or artists you follow, a lot of guys have been posting stuff up that they've been happy to give things away for free. I think the major one is Aaron Blaze is
Mhm.
actually giving away his intro to character animation for
Oh,
free, like the
wow.
whole course,
Okay.
which is a big deal. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you guys want to grab that, I'll maybe even put that link in the description, and of course I'll put all Henry's social media down in the bottom. You guys can reach out. He's always super helpful to talk to you guys or help you out with stuff. So you just send him an email or a message, and of course be polite and really nice. But I'm sure Henry will, if he's not busy, get back to you and help you with anything you're wanting to talk about. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, again, yeah, thanks again to Henry for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me on.
yeah, you're welcome, man. If you guys have any questions or anything you want to ask Henry, just put it down below. Again, I'll leave all his socials in the descriptions. Check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, loads and loads of variations of where you can find us. And yeah, we will speak to you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.